Hello and welcome to Falcon Blues TV. I'm Callum Davies, back with the final match preview of the season. This weekend's game where Everton are going to be travelling to Manchester City. All games will kick off at the same time on Sunday, the 23rd of May, a 4 PM kickoff, and we are live on Sky Sports. Before we get into the video, if you wouldn't mind going down, liking and subscribing, we'd really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So last time out, Everton finally recorded another win at Goodison. 6,500 fans were there to witness it, and I think they really did make all the difference in forcing a few of those players into a bit more of a spirited performance. The likes of Richarlison, who has been quite poor all season, looked reinvigorated. Sigurdsson, I've never seen him work so hard across that field. I thought they all just played really, except for maybe Decore, who I think he's still feeling the effect of obviously that injury that he had. I thought they all played really well. City, on the other hand, suffered a surprise defeat to Brighton. Obviously they did get that red card early on, which I thought was a bit harsh. But they were 2-0 up and Brighton came back and won 3-2. And that means that City have now conceded 6 goals in the last 2 games, both against sides who are lower down the table than us in Brighton and Newcastle. So it shows that they are there to be taken defensively, and especially with the fact that the Champions League final is definitely going to be on the forefront of their mind next weekend. They won't want to risk anyone, and as I'll mention later, they do have quite a long list of maybe absentees, which they probably won't risk for this game, because the title's already wrapped up. The last 2 home games they've played, though, they have lost against Chelsea and I think it might have been Leeds, which was a little while ago, because they did go on a bit of a string of away games. So it shows that this unbeatable City side, they seem to have put the foot off the gas a little bit in recent weeks, and it shows that we can get a result, which we need the result more than they do. They don't need anything from this game. They've already won the league, they're already champions. There's still a possibility that we could end up in 7th if results go our way elsewhere. So there is something for us to aim for, but obviously, as always, the signs aren't really in our favour. I think it was the last 6 games that we've played against Man City in the league, we've lost all of them, and especially at the Etihad, we've suffered. I think it was, we've lost the last 6 in all competitions against City, and then at the Etihad we've lost all 6 as well. So we're on some ridiculous losing run to City at the moment. I think I read somewhere that only against United have we ever had a worse losing run, and that was back under Alex Ferguson. I think we lost 9 games on the run against United, and we're currently at 6 with City at the moment. So let's hope that we can kind of break it this weekend, but it seems unlikely. We don't really have a good record on the last game of the season either as well. I think the last time we won on the last game of the season was against Norwich 2015-16, and a few of the lads like Calvert-Lewin and Tom Davies, who will be playing today as like established first team players, were making some of their first appearances. And City, on the other hand, I don't think they've lost on the final game of the season for 12 years, I think, or 12 seasons. So I was bound to come up with statistics that didn't favour us, because City are a phenomenal side and an impossible one to predict in terms of their lineup, because of the sheer options that they've got. The only way that you can narrow it down is the fact that they do have the injuries that I mentioned. Now, firstly, Everton's injuries. Ancelotti's press conference, he said that James, who suffered from fatigue against Wolves, has picked up another calf injury, so they're not going to risk him for the City game, and he's going to fly off for the Copa America, I think it is. So good luck to him at that, and hopefully he'll come back, won't pick up any injuries, and we can have a fully fit James who can play a few more games next season, hopefully, and play a bigger part in more of a European push than we had this year. Another one who's injured is Coleman. Picked up a little injury against Wolves apparently, so he won't be fit, which means that it's unsure as to how he's going to play it, Ancelotti, whether he'll go to a back 4 or whether he'll just plug Iwobi in that hole perhaps. City, on the other hand, as I mentioned, they have a few maybe absentees. Gundogan got injured against Brighton. I don't think it was anything too serious, but they obviously weren't going to risk him, so they took him off of Fernandinho. De Bruyne is only recently back. They didn't want to risk him against Brighton, but we could see him off the bench for them, or he could start and come off with half an hour to go. So these are all possibilities. Obviously, Cancelo got that straight red against Brighton. I'm not sure whether it's been appealed or suspended, because I personally think it was quite a harsh straight red, but nevertheless, if he's suspended, he will not be available. And then it was Walker, Aguero, Sterling, all were just named as not fully fit on the City website. So they all seem unlikely to at least start in the game, especially Walker and Sterling, who've been regulars for City this year. They won't want to risk them ahead of the biggest game in their club's history. So Everton's lineup then, I think it'll be pretty unchanged, because I struggle to see how we could change a lot of it. As I said last match preview for the Wolves game, it is our pretty much starting lineup, James except. So it'll be Pickford in goal, and a back three you would imagine of Mina, Keane, who was brilliant against Wolves, and Godfrey, who's brilliant every game. With Coleman's absence, you'd imagine he would plug that hole with Iwobi, because I think he kind of favours this three at the back system, especially on the road and against bigger sides who are going to cause us more issues. And then Dean will play at the left wing back, which would mean a midfield two of Alan and Decore, who are going to have to put in one hell of a shift to deal with City's midfield. And in the front three will be Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison and Sigurdsson. Now I'm really kind of glad that James isn't fit, because I think it would be a crime for us to drop Sigurdsson, because I thought he played quite well last game, and I saw him put in a real effort and kind of spearheading the press for us, which I've not seen him do ever really. He seemed revitalised, and it was nice to see, and I think that him starting over James would give us more of a chance against the likes of City, where you can't really have passengers. If you're going to get a result, you need everyone to buy into a system where you're going to work really hard and grind out a result. Now, City, on the other hand, are notoriously hard to predict because of the Pep roulette. He did say that Ederson will be starting the final two games of the season, so he'll start in goal. I imagine that he'd probably rest one of Diaz or Stones and start Laporte, just to not risk them for the Champions League final. So I went with Laporte and Stones, because Diaz is obviously the more important of the two starting centre-backs. And I thought that with the absence of Walker and Cancelo, he might have to move Zinchenko to right back, which would leave that left back spot open for someone like Benjamin Mendy, who's recovered from injury, but he doesn't seem to have nailed down a starting spot. Rodri will probably start in that holding midfield role alongside, normally it would be Gundogan, but because of his injury, again, I imagine he won't be risked. So it'll probably be Fernandinho. And then the front four could be one of a few. I imagine it'll be something along the lines of Torres, Bernardo Silva, Mahrez maybe, just to throw one of the big names in there, and then Jesus up front. But if fit, you could see Sterling play, or even Aguero, because I imagine he probably won't start with a recognised striker against Chelsea, or because that seems to be the way that he likes to play things, Guardiola. But I imagine a lot of the big guns will get rested, which will give us a prime opportunity to grab a result. Now, as I've mentioned, City are already champions, so what it means is strictly what it means for Everton. They won the league a few weeks ago now, so it is really all down to what we want to do with this season. And unfortunately for us, the way that it's gone is that it's in other people's hands. We need to rely on other results for us to get into a position which would guarantee us a Europa Conference League spot. Spurs are just in front of us, but they play Leicester on the last game of the season, which is by no means an easy game. I think we might be level with them, but their goal difference is obviously far superior. We would need to get any kind of a result at City and hope that Spurs get a worse result, so we beat City, Spurs draw, or we draw with City and Spurs lose. And I think that's definitely a possibility. I think there's with the way that they've played in recent weeks, City, and the fact that they have shown frailties, especially in defence with the amount of goals they've conceded, if we really go for it, we could could well come away with a result, and Leicester obviously battling for top four. They have a lot more on the line than Spurs do, in the fact that the prizes are so much bigger. They could definitely end up getting a result there. So I think all we need to go out and do is just try our best, try and get a result, because also we have Arsenal behind us, just a point behind us. So if they better our result, we could even end up ninth, which I feel like is a bit of an unfair reflection, because Arsenal don't deserve to be above us this season, because they've just been awful. But I suppose with my rose-tinted glasses on, it's hard to say that we've been that much better than them either. I just suppose their standards are a little bit higher than ours. So it is really all open, and even Leeds 3 points behind us, I think it would be unlikely for them to overtake us, but it's certainly a possibility. So it is going to make for quite an interesting last game of the season, and in terms of a prediction, I'd say it's quite hard because of all the factors. The fact that City don't really have anything on the line. They've got a Champions League final in their sights. They've shown in recent weeks that they are possible to get at. I could definitely see us coming away with a 1-1 draw, which I think is what I would go with as my prediction. I think it'd be unlikely for us to win, but if we did win, it would really exemplify what this season's been in terms of making big steps forward in terms of mentality, you know, beating these kind of sides on the road, City, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool. But I would go with a 1-1 draw as like my hopeful but semi-realistic prediction. You can let us know in the comments down below what you think the game's going to go like, what your predictions are, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for a good season, supporting the channel. It's been brilliant, my first season with Falcon Blues TV, and I look forward to next season. So up the Toffees.